Here in my hand I have Taylormade's new twist irons that are out now. I've got their latest P770 and their new P7CB iron. Let's take a look what they're all about. So using tour feedback, Taylormade have strategically placed the mass in the head to create a nice, consistent, soft feel. With any tour played iron, most of the tour players are going to say, make it better, but don't change anything. So changing something of this type of iron is very difficult for the manufacturers. But from my experience of hitting it, it felt really soft and solid on the strikes, really gave me a good idea of where I was hitting it across the face. Which if you're missing greens because you're coming up short, you want to know if that was a strike or a miss club. So like lots of the manufacturers, Taylormade are no different with using co-forging of tungsten. So what that means is within some of the longer irons, there's tungsten within the head, this perimeter weighting that you can see around the outside, it's all there for a reason. When we're not quite striking at our best, it's just helping to stabilize the head, keep the ball flight consistent from where a good strike should be. Couple that with the progressive bounce in the irons. With the wedges we have more bounce, with the 7 iron less and the 4 iron less again. It's really helping the head to glide through the turf when we're compressing it for maximum ball speed and distance. In terms of look, I think this is a good improvement over the previous generation. I think the top line looks sleek, it looks a little bit more rounded to my eye, and putting it behind the ball, it looks a really, really nice product. So here we now have the P770, and I'm going to follow on from the CB in terms of look. I think this is a massive improvement over the previous generation. Behind the ball, it looks really sleek, nice and rounded. I found previous P770 a little bit boxy to look at, but behind the ball, I think this looks really, really smart. In terms of the visual in the bag as well, this kind of bar across the back, the very clean finish, this looks a very, very nice iron. So as with previous generation 770s, this one again features a progressive flighted centre of gravity. What does that mean for you as a golfer? Well, in the 4 iron, 5 iron, the centre of gravity sits lower in the head to help pop the ball up a little bit higher, give us some launch in those long irons so when it gets into the green it's not coming down too shallow and rolling through the back. However, with the pitch and wedge 9 iron, we don't need the ball launching really, really high with a lower centre of gravity. We want the ball coming out a little bit more forward because we've got a lot more loft. So the centre of gravity goes up in the face, helps to bring the flight down compared to the centre of gravity if it was the same in the 4 iron, and that gives us really consistent launch angles, really consistent spin numbers, and then as long as our strike's good, hopefully really consistent yardages too. Taylormade have also updated the tungsten weighting in the head of the 770. Again, that's just going to help a little bit on forgiveness elements compared to their previous generation irons. It's always hard to measure things like this in practical terms, but in terms of myself hitting the shots, it did feel very, very stable when I was misstriking it. And in terms of my numbers, I didn't really see much of a drop off when the strike wasn't there. In terms of numbers of the two heads, I was really impressed. 770 creating a little bit more ball speed than my current gaming iron by around 1 mile an hour, and the CB was around 1 mile an hour slower than my current iron. So very, very similar, and I'm currently playing a typical forged club. In terms of spin rate and height, both looking around 7,000, peak heights of around 90 feet, which is good for myself, and the land angle sitting above 45. So it's going to give me lots of control, ball's not going to move too far when it's landing into the green. And those are numbers that you'd expect from a player's iron. In terms of distance, with the CB, my carry was in the low 60s, which again is just a couple of yards down on my current club, but the loft is very, very comparable. The spin was slightly up, and in the 770, my distance was just into the early 70s on a good shot, which is around 5 or 6 yards more than my current club, and it's only 1 degree stronger. So really, really impressive. Coupled that with the high spin rate of around 7,000, that for me is a product that I could easily play. So who would we see these irons mainly aimed at? For me, this is going to be generally a single figure golfer, someone that's got a pretty consistent strike, because we're not getting maximum forgiveness in the head when we're striking it off center. And that kind of golfer is looking for very consistent numbers, consistent launch, spin and carry distances. And from what I've seen, these irons are going to provide that for you. In terms of custom fit options, as with pretty much all Taylormade products, we have got a load of shafts, weights, flexes, brands, length, lie angles. They've still got the same fitting system on the head, so we can really dial in the lie or loft of the irons. So pretty much whatever you're looking for in these, we can pretty much find the right spec for you. So if you think the new P770 and P7CB are the right iron for you, book a free fitting in the link below and we will see you soon.